place has got some subjects which are a bit more taboo and some approaches which you can't do.
No more! I'm never going to masturbate looking at your tits again!
I was dreadful at the beginning. Really bad. So much so that I had hypnosis to try and help me conquer my nerves.
Full disclosure, in a minute I will be talking about my minge. Okay, so...
You're shit. And I hadn't even started. And like a pack of wolves, it just went round the room.
Do you think you might be gay? Imagine finding that out at my age. Yeah? All I wanted was a bit of cock. At this age. Yeah? People are saying, oh, is he offended? No, don't worry. It's like, they know. It's like Nigerians are the Scousers of Africa.
The very first gig I did was part of this comedy course, so it was like a graduation night, and everyone that I was on the course with was like, oh God, you're going to win this, because it was like, they'd made it into a competition. They were like, yeah, you're going to win this, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I worried about it for about a week and a half before the actual night, and then came last because I died on my absolute hole. And I'd got everybody that I was working with to come and watch. And that was the most humiliating experience of my entire life. So that was, my first proper gig. And then my second proper gig, I had an absolute ball.
Full disclosure, in a minute I will be talking about my minge. Okay, so, look at his little face, as if he's never seen one, has he? Look at it.
Yeah, but the early times it was like you only got to do 5 minutes, so you'd sort of travel up and down the country, drive for 6 hours to London or whatever, and then go do your 5 minutes. And I was dreadful at the begining, really bad. So much so that I had hypnosis to try and help me conquer my nerves. But people are brutal, audiences are brutal, so you have to kind of be tough, have big balls.
I suppose this observational filth is probably the best way to describe what I do. But when I go to festivals, I like to do weird stuff. And I'm working on a bit now where I end up dressed up as a vicar singing Don't Stop Believing by Foreigner. I can't do that in a 20-minute set in a comedy club.
All my female friends, same thing. Oh, do you think you might be gay? Imagine finding that out at my age. Yeah? All I wanted was a bit of cock. At this age. Yeah? Although, fuck it, you never know. I never used to like olives. Fucking love olives. Love olives. Big mouthful of olive. Love it. Love it.
My writing process when it started out used to be, I used to sit down and think, what's funny? I'd take down notes whenever something made me laugh or smile, and then I would just talk to myself until something funny happened. That was early on. Now I'm, 20 years later, I can now go the other way, where I sit down and I try to think, what do I want to make funny? Then I research that subject. Like I just did a thing in Malawi where I did a joke about every country in Africa. So what I did was I went and I researched those countries and I looked for things where I expected to find humor. So I looked at scandals, I looked at strange customs, and then once I got them, I start looking for connections and I start looking for parallels. It's very hard to sort of explain it, but I do mind maps and diagrams sometimes, and other times I just look at a subject and I know the joke immediately. Dealing with hecklers is easy. It's essentially a playground thing which we do ever since we're kids. It's dealing with a bully or dealing with an idiot. So generally I respond the same way you'd respond as a 12-year-old, in that if someone says something stupid, I just say something more stupid and make everybody laugh. The only time I've struggled to deal with hecklers, because I've been doing comedy in the UK where people drink too much, I've been used to dealing with hecklers for many years. The only time I find it hard sometimes is when it's more ugly than just drunken stupidness. So if someone's like, hey, you're not funny, very easy to deal with. But when someone's like racist or something, it's harder to be funny because it gets you emotional. And that's not the place where the funny comes. The funny comes when I'm in control of the room and I'm in charge of everything. So like there was a time in Kendall where I had done a joke about the BNP, the British National Party, who are right wing. The joke was, you know, I moved to the UK because of the BNP. They said immigrants are taking all the good jobs, all the good women. I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? I did that joke, and clearly someone who was a fan of the BNP took issue, even though that joke's not really mocking them. Started saying, oh, yeah, why don't you go back to your shithole country? Clearly he was also a Trump fan. Why don't you go back? Why are you still complaining? Whatever. And that made me think that that kind of dislodged me because it came from such a hateful place. And also the audience didn't do anything. Like if someone was like, hey, that's out of order. Hey, shut up. That we don't want that. You feel they're on your side. But everyone was uncomfortable. And that one, oh, I didn't deal with it very well at all. I just argued I wasn't funny. But that night, anytime a bad experience happened, that night I sat down and I wrote down the things I would say if it ever happened again. And then next time a racist interrupted me, boom, I was ready. So the good thing about comedy is someone always says like there's a comedian called Stuart Goldsmith who talks about comedy is a comedian goes into a club on the first day and someone throws a chair at him. Second day, someone throws a chair at him and it hits it. The third day, he catches it and throws it back. So it's that thing of when something bad happens, you write ready for it to happen again.
Oh, I've had some tremendous deaths. When I started out at the beginning, because I go back a long way, I've been doing this 22 years now. So the big clubs back in the day were jonglers clubs, and everyone you see on TV, all the older comics, they all went through there. And so I was working with those people back then. I was very new. And I did my first 15-minute tryout spot at Jonglers Camden. Everyone was having a good gig. But even before I got to the mic, someone just shouted out, "You're shit." And I hadn't even started. And like a pack of wolves, it just went round the room. And for 15 minutes, I had people screaming at me to get off stage, "You're shit," booing me, people standing up. And I just had to stand there and take it because there was no way I could walk off. And I wouldn't have walked off. There was one table at the front, 6 who were pissing themselves at me dying, but I just focused on them. I walked off stage. I walked straight out the building, thought I'd never ever go back there again. And on the Monday morning, they rang me up. I thought I was going to get the bollocking. And they said, would you come in and see us? We'd like to manage you. And I said, what, after Saturday? And they went, yeah, if you can survive that, you can survive anything. We know you got the jokes, but if you can put up with that, we know you're a proper comic. And that was that.
It was a drunk Caucasian girl or a drunk white girl that was in the crowd, and she was heckling all the comedians. So when I got on stage, I just looked at her and I got off the stage with my mic and I said, "It's okay, sweetheart. Shh." And out of nowhere, she went really quiet. And I got back on the stage and my response was, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is why my friends call me the white girl whisperer." And it was so funny. They're like, wow. But that was just one heckler. There was another one. It was actually a guy, and he had a Jurassic Park shirt on. And he kept making all these weird sexual comments. And so I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, sir, do you like," and I referenced a certain activity. I don't know if I can actually say that activity or not, but it starts with a P and it ends with a G. Pegging. I'm like, "Hey, sir, do you like to get pegged?" And he's like, "Maybe." And I looked at his Jurassic Park shirt and I'm like, "Oh, so we could call you Pegasaurus." And the crowd went crazy and the guy just sat there and stared at me like he didn't know what to say. But those are my instances of dealing with some wild hecklers.
I perform all around the world. I was in December, I did Tanzania, Malawi, Kenya, and Zambia. I'm going to Pakistan next week. So I perform anywhere. And what I find is I've realized that every country has got its rules. Now, there are some things which are universally funny. Love, family. These things you can talk about anywhere. But every place has got some subjects which are a bit more taboo and some approaches which you can't do. So, for example, the UK love self-deprecating and sarcastic comedy. That's not necessarily going to work in America. In America, they respond to you more if you're very like high status and you say what you mean. Like sarcasm is a very British thing. But then also like subject matter. The UK, this is the big thing I've noticed. If I had to generalize, they of course accept it, but if I had to generalize, in African countries, you can make fun of groups as much as you want.
People were like, oh, don't go to South Africa, it's violent. I went there, it wasn't violent, I was fine. I guess there was violence, none of it affected me, I was happy. Came back. I was going to Nigeria, and somebody said, don't go to Nigeria. They're crooks, they'll rob you. I went there, they were crooks, they robbed me. Some uncomfortable people are saying, oh, is he offended? No, don't worry, it's like, they know, it's like Nigerians are the Scousers of Africa.
But you cannot make fun of individuals. Or, well, you can, but you'll get in trouble. So if you make fun of the president, right, in Malawi, you might get in trouble. If you make fun of the prophet in Uganda, his followers might try to come beat you up. But make fun of the anonymous groups as much as you want. In Western countries, the UK, America, it's flipped.
Like, oh my God, Katie Price, you've crossed the line for the last time. I used to be a fan, but no more. I'm never going to masturbate looking at your tits again.
Every country's got little nuances, and when I moved to that country, I talk to everyone. Talk to the people who work at the office, people who work in the hotel, people who are driving me if there's a taxi driver, and I test my jokes and I start to figure out what is acceptable in that country.
You should have carried on. I go, one of the worst things is when someone's phone goes.
Alright, recording again. We have to act it out now.
Oh, what, we've got to go from the beginning?
No.
All the stuff that bothers me, I take it on stage, I make it funny. But part of that is I literally, if someone broke up with me this week, I'm talking about being broken up with next week. But even more traumatic things, I've talked about being molested, I've talked about being beaten up by racists, I've talked about all sorts of, all the worst things that happen in my life become part of my comedy. And it's like catharsis. It's like Rumpelstiltskin, you turn it into gold. And then by being able to laugh at it on stage, it's made me able to laugh at it in life. And then also it's given me like autonomy, like becoming successful and doing television has given me enough money that like I'm out of debt and I'm living well. So it's given me financial freedom, but more importantly, it's given me emotional, just management of my life. Comedy is the best thing for dealing with your issues.
Any closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah.
If you're thinking about doing comedy, then don't, because there's enough of us on the circuit and we're all scrabbling for work. Okay.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you very much.
One substance.
Wow. I got a bit of softness now.
Daphne? Who's Daphne?
Yes.